Who is actually winning the Championship transfer window so far? We've had some serious deals that have taken place so far, and some clubs that have been moving very, very seriously so far in the transfer window. We're going to be going through every single team as well and kind of discussing my thoughts on the transfer business so far. So if you're a Championship fan, then do hit that subscribe button on this channel. We do daily Championship content. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that content, please do drop me a subscription. It only takes 1 second. And as well as that, if you do want to enjoy the video, do leave a like on the video as well. Now, one team I did just want to start on with quickly is Birmingham City, who've had probably the most talk, or definitely the most talk in terms of the transfer business so far, because they had a kind of week period where they went absolutely wild and brought in multiple players and some big name players and some high profile players and some big signings in general. Of course, they started off their window very early on with a free transfer for Phil Newman, who's a centre-back who's very highly rated over in Germany. He looks to come in as a starting centre-back for Birmingham. So that was an early transfer that kind of has now flown under the radar due to the fact that Birmingham have signed so many players since then. People have actually forgotten about this transfer completely. Then they followed up with a James Beadle move, which for me, I've already commented, I'm not the biggest, but I don't think he should really be starting overalls, or in my opinion. You never know. It's a loan deal. Will he start? It all remains to be seen, but I'm not the biggest fan personally of that transfer. But the other ones, you can't really say too much against them, to be honest. I think Tommy Doyle played over 50 games in the Premier League. Obviously, is a very, very good midfielder. To play that many games and be trusted at Premier League level shows the kind of quality this guy's got. And now stepping down to the Championship, you think he is going to be one of the top midfielders in the Championship next season. And Wolves have picked him up on a loan deal with, I believe, an option to buy as well at the end of the loan. They've also brought in Asai Samuel. Now, they have Ethan Laird at right back. Obviously, Asai Samuel, I know him from QPR when I'm a QPR fan, so I watched him week in, week out when he was like an out-and-out winger. And since he's gone to Fenerbahce, he's kind of gone back now to a full-back role. Will he start at right back? I don't think he'll start over Ethan Laird, because Ethan Laird is a very, very good Championship right back, another player that I've watched a lot of. Could he maybe play left back? I'm not so sure, but I think Asai Samuel is a very good player, and he's a good option in terms of just how much pace he's got. And he's played now multiple years over at Fenerbahce and played in European competitions, and is coming now as a much more experienced player when he left the Championship. And I'm sure he has improved his game a lot and ironed out a lot of things in his game. Then they got Damari Gray, of course, who has played so many games in the Premier League for Everton, for Leicester, played for Bayer Leverkusen as well. Obviously started everything out at Birmingham City as well. Obviously lost his way a little bit in Saudi, especially in his second season at Saudi. He did struggle. Just the 1 goal, 1 assist. Oh, no, it's not even that. I don't even know. I didn't even get a goal last season in Saudi. No, he just got the 1 assist in Saudi last season and no goals. So it's interesting. He needs to kind of rebuild his career, and I think Birmingham City is the perfect place for him to go back to and, as I say, kind of rekindle his career. And I think he could do very, very well at Birmingham. We know the quality he's got. This guy scored some absolute bangers for Everton. I remember that goal that he scored against Manchester City where he cut in and curled it. He's got so much quality, we know, and hopefully Birmingham can unlock that quality again and we can see the best of Damari Gray. Now, the statement signed you'd say so far is Kyogo. They brought him in for what, almost like £10 million, around 10 million anyway. Obviously struggled at Rennes, but then he's did so well over at Celtic. He had that season where, what was it, how many goals did he score in that season? 35 goals, just 2 or 3 years ago, where he was absolutely back. And Celtic fans say he's maybe fallen off a little bit. He's not quite the same player as what he was a few years ago under Ange Postecoglou, but there's still an absolute player in there. He's a quality, natural finisher, and that is what Birmingham need in their side. And I think he's going to be very, very good. And I think in the Championship, it just feels like the Championship he shouldn't be playing at Championship level. That's genuinely what it feels like to me. When you look at what he's done for Celtic, he was genuinely regarded as the best player in the Scottish League. And then a couple of years later, he's rocking up in the Championship. Absolutely wild from Birmingham. And then they've also brought in Fujimoto as well, I'm not too aware of. I'm not going to lie. But Birmingham City in the transfer market have made serious statements, I'm not going to lie. And I think you'd be silly maybe to not say that Birmingham City have won the transfer window, because I think that kind of transfer business that they've shown so far is a statement of Birmingham are going for promotion this season, for me, in my personal opinion. Now, Blackburn Rovers have had an interesting window. It seems like they're selling a lot of players. I'm seeing Britain getting linked as well, so I think it's Middlesbrough's getting linked to. We'll see what happens and how that progresses. A lot of players kind of moving on from Blackburn, which is interesting. I'm not too keen on what's been going on there. Bristol City, by the way, I think O'Leary's just got an injury, which means Joe Lumley they've brought in might actually be their starting goalkeeper. You're losing the transfer window if you're starting Joe Lumley as your keeper. Another one that I want to discuss is Charlton Athletic in a little bit more detail. We've spoken about Charlton quite a bit on the channel recently, But I think their transfers have been very impressive. For a newly promoted club, obviously, their aim is to stay up in the Championship, let's be real. They just want to stay up. And they've made signings that I think are giving me a lot more confidence in Charlton in terms of their survival battle. They brought in Joe Rankin-Costello, who's played now multiple seasons at Blackburn and done decent enough at Blackburn, 132 games. This is a very experienced Championship player. And, he's only 25 years old, but he's played so long at Blackburn now. And it's a signing, as I say, that Charlton, you kind of know what they're going for with the signings they've made. Very much Championship-proven players with the likes of Costello, Reece Burke, Thomas Kaminski. There's also Amari Bell on there as well, who isn't on this list. Sonny Carey coming up from Blackpool as well. I've actually really liked the business that Charlton have done. I think they're definitely up there. They definitely need more, don't get me wrong. And they've also brought in Alafe as well, who's not on there as well, who I think is an absolute handful from Stockport County as well in the games that I watched of him in League One last season. So I've actually really liked the business that Charlton have done so far. As I say, I still think they need more, because obviously they lost Thierry Small as well. But I've liked the business that Charlton have done so far. As for Coventry City, I like the signing of Kesler Hayden. Obviously, they've not really made too many signings, but I think Kesler Hayden, top Championship fullback. He's going to be, top 3 Championship right back, I should say. And Coventry City, we brought him in for €4 million, a decent price. Still 22 years old, and he genuinely has potential to go on and play in the Premier League in the future. So I think that's a really good signing for Coventry City. Genuinely, for me, that is one of the signings of the window so far. Derby County brought in some very experienced players. That's the John Eustace special, it seems like, for Derby County. Bringing Danny Batt, Andreas Weimann, Carlton Morris, also linked with a few other players as well recently. So Derby County definitely need more, because, they've lost a lot of players. A lot of them experienced players have all left. They're going to need more, but they've brought in some decent players. I think Carlton Morris is a good sign, especially there, that stands out for me for Derby County. Hull City, obviously, we know what's going on with them in terms of their transfer embargo. Ipswich making a big signing for a midfielder who's come from Rennes, and it looks like Sam Morsey's on his way. So they've lost pretty much their whole midfield. Luongo's gone to free, who didn't play much last season, granted. Kayuste was obviously on loan. I don't know if they're going to get him back or not. Judging by they made this signing, are they going to splash on Kayuste as well? Maybe. I'm not so sure. And then, as well as that, we have Morsey going as well. That's pretty much their whole midfield in terms of their sixers that are going to be leaving Ipswich. They have replaced one, of course, with this guy. We'll wait and see how he gets on. A big money move, that is, really, for Ipswich to be splashing that kind of cash in the Championship. Leicester have done absolutely nothing so far. Middlesbrough as well, nothing done from them. Millwall spent a big fee on Josh Coburn. I think that's quite expensive, I think, for me personally, when I'm looking at that. Norwich City have been very, very busy in the transfer market. They've sold Borja Sainz now for around about, it says 13 million. I thought it was a little bit more than that. I thought it was maybe 14 million euros. Well, they've sold Borja Sainz for a good price. They got the fee now for Jonathan Rowe as well. They're bringing Chris Garden, who we spoke about in a video a few days ago, who could be a very interesting signing. Has got a lot of potential and done very well over at Bromby, where he was last. And Norwich have splashed a bit of cash. And Harry Darlan as well, good Championship experience, good centre-back at Championship level. Obviously played for Swansea and did very well there. I've liked the business that Norwich are doing. Obviously they've sold Borja Sainz. Will they sell Josh Sargent? But I think Norwich are contenders for being up there so far. Norwich do kind of, as I say, they always get good fees for their players, and they always seem to find a gem out of somewhere. Could Chris Garden be the next gem that Norwich City find? Oxford bringing into Kirchmager, who spent a decent fee on him, by the way. I still think Oxford definitely need more, but I think that's a good step. Oxford spending that kind of money on a player is wild. They also brought in Brody Spencer as well from Huddersfield. Portsmouth announcing the signing of John Swift. Obviously struggled at West Brom in the last season, didn't do great, but I think at a club like Portsmouth, John Mousinho, with him playing under John Mousinho, I think this could suit John Swift quite well. We know there's an absolute quality player in there. We've seen it in numerous seasons when he's played in the Championship. Very accomplished player at Championship level. So, interesting signing from Portsmouth. He was obviously going to go to somebody in the Championship, and Portsmouth are the ones that have ended up snapping him up. Now, Preston North End have been very, very busy in the transfer market so far. I've spoken a bit about Preston. I'm not the biggest fan of the signing so far. Bringing in, I think Thierry Small looks really good. In the pre-season game I saw him against Liverpool, he looked very impressive. Valentin, I'm not sure. Everson, he's okay. Jordan Thompson as well is okay. I think Everson did well when he was last at Preston, to be fair. Jordan Thompson's played, he's played a lot of games at Championship level, played for Stoke recently, and he's decent. He's not exactly one to write home about in terms of a transfer. And then as well, that Dan Jefferson, he had a terrible record last season. We'll see if Heckingbottom can get the best out of him. And by the way, Keon Best going from Preston and not playing at Bohemians to then joining Chelsea is absolutely wild. I can't believe that transfer actually took place. Now, Michael QPR have been pretty active, to be fair, in the transfer market. 3 actual signings. Karamoko Dembele was already signed last season. We brought in Poku. It's a pretty, it's a statement signing, really, in terms of how many clubs were interested in him. Also brought in Bengi from Reading as well, who did very well over in League One. And then Adamson, who probably will be a backup right back, you'd imagine. But 2 statement signings there from League One. We'll see how they get on. I think Poku obviously did so well at Peterborough, and them goal returns and goal contributions were an absolute joke. So let's hope he can, step up to the Championship and put up some good numbers in that division for us. Who else have we got that's been making statements? Definitely not Sheffield Wednesday. They've been making statements in the wrong way. Southampton have brought in a couple of players. They've announced the sign of Damien Downs from FC Cologne for €8 million. They've got a wealth of forward options now. Southampton, as you know, they've got Adam Armstrong. They've still got Ross Stewart, who's obviously struggled so badly with injuries. Cameron Archer as well. Like, they've got serious options. And Damien Downs, you've got to think surely somebody's going to go the other way at some point. They've got a good fee for Sulemana, who's a very talented footballer, but didn't really see the best of him at Southampton. Got a decent enough fee for him. Stoke brought in one of the players that I think could be up there for signings of the season. I think Televirov. We saw him at Plymouth last season. I think they got him for a decent fee, to be fair. And as I say, he's a player that really impressed me at Plymouth last season under Miran Muzic. The defence was so much more solid when Televirov was there, and Katic as well. Really good signings from Plymouth in that second half of the season. I like that signing from Stoke, and still 25 years old as well. I think that's a really good piece of business there. And then a free signing of Aaron Cresswell, very experienced player. Played a decent amount for West Ham as well. He played quite a few games in the end last season. And as I say, got very good experience. And at Championship level, I think he'll be very good, even though he is 35 years old. With Sorba Thomas as well, Stoke haven't been doing too bad. Stoke haven't been doing too bad in the transfer market, I don't think, so far. I still think they need more, but the signings that they made, I don't mind them at all. I think Sorba Thomas' set-piece delivery is very, very good at Championship level. So I think they've made some decent signings so far. Stoke have been quite impressed with their business. Swansea are a team that can definitely be contenders for kind of teams that have had the best transfer windows so far. They brought in this Anusa from the Swedish league for a lot of money, got a lot of potential, and looks to be a very naturally talented and gifted footballer. So we'll see how he kind of adapts to Championship football. Brought in Galbraith as well from Leyton Orient, who did well for them last season, in part of the Leyton Orient team that had a lot of loan players but did very well and got to the playoffs and had a very successful season. And as well, that Cameron Burgess on a free transfer, I think, as well is a really good piece of business from Swansea there, picking him up from Ipswich on a free transfer. Ipswich were disappointed to see him go, and Ipswich are going to be probably going for the title this season. And for a club like that to be disappointed that he's leaving, to then go and sign for Swansea after, I think is a really good piece of business from Swansea City. The kind of replacement for Harry Darlan, which is not good that they lost Darlan because he's a very good Championship centre-back, but they have replaced very well, in my opinion, with Cameron Burgess. Now, I do think Watford have been really making moves in the transfer market, and I think they've kind of made a few statement signings. I'm not gonna lie, and they've also linked with a player from Bayern Munich as well. So they're going to be signing him as well for a few £1 million. I think Bayern Munich have a buyback clause in him, but he looks to be. I mean, he played in the Australian league, and he looks to be a very interesting player. And as I say, if Bayern Munich are there putting buyback clauses on him, 50% sell-on clause that they've got on him as well, it shows how highly Bayern Munich do think of him, and they think he could really go on to big things. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting on selling clauses like that and putting buyback clauses on for a club like Bayern Munich. So, could this be the time where this could be an amazing redemption arc for the Pozzos? Because after what happened with Tom Cleverley, could Watford actually, make a statement and make a real go of maybe getting the playoffs in the Championship this season? With the signings they're making, I think they're definitely making a case that they could be maybe dark horses this season in the Championship. Obviously, very early days, of course. And West Brom has splashed the cash as well on Hegebo, who's a striker who's played for Brann over in Norway and scored quite a lot of goals over there. And they splashed a bit of money on him, so he's going to be their striker next season, you'd imagine, starting. And then they also brought in Nat Phillips for a decent fee as well. He did score in a pre-season friendly against Dynamo Kiev. But Nat Phillips, we saw that he was a very decent centre-back for Derby County. I think it's a big fee for a guy who's 28 years old now. It's mental how Nat Phillips is 28, by the way. Seeing him play for lockdown Liverpool, and now he's 28 years old. I think it's a big fee they put for him, really. £3 million, whatever. But he's a good Championship centre-back. He's proved that last season at Derby County. And Wrexham, as I say, I spoke about him in yesterday's video. Surprised me about how little business they've done, to be honest. I think they're too busy focusing on that Down Under tour, which they lost on today. I think they need to actually get back in England and start making a few or get back in Wales and start making a few transfers. I think because I think they've been surprisingly quiet in the transfer market. I think they need to, take it a bit more serious and start making a few more signings because otherwise I think they could actually be in a little bit of trouble in the transfer market this season. So let me know, who do you think is winning the transfer market? For me, I still think it's Birmingham City, and there's shouts for Watford, Swansea City are shouts as well. I think Stoke have done decent business. I won't put them as winning it though. I feel like I'm missing out on another team. I'm not going to say QPR. Who am I missing out here? Norwich, that's it, yeah. I think Norwich are up there as well as contenders for winning the market so far. But for me, I don't think there's an argument. For me, it's Birmingham City so far, and there's kind of them other teams in the group below. So let me know, who do you think is winning the window? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you watch this point, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel as well. We do daily championship content, so if you wouldn't mind helping me out, drop me a subscription, it would be very greatly appreciated. And it only takes 1 second. And if you watch this point, you may as well hit that subscribe button. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.